Dan Perry here with another C++ tutorial for Dan on Tech. In this video we will continue looking at while loops, and what I'm going to do is make a couple of changes to the last example. I'm going to create a new variable j, and I'm going to set it equal to 100, and just like with the for loops, the values of both the enter and exit conditions and such, they don't have to be fixed. They could be dynamic. In this case, I'm going to say while I is less than or equal to j, and whatever the value of j is will determine our exit condition. Just like we saw with the for loops, we could have had a cin that set the value of j. We could have also have a cin that maybe set the initial value of I. Doesn't matter how they got those values. Could be results of some previous calculation. But what I'm going to do here is change the value of I, but not just add 1 to it. I'm going to calculate I, saying that I is equal to the current value of I times, let's say, 9. So whatever the current value of I, actually let me make that smaller because that's not going to go through the loop very many times. The current value of I times 4. So the first time, each time it's going to change the value of I. Now, before I do run this, if I run it right now, I will be in an infinite loop. Think about it for a second. Why will I be in an infinite loop? I'm calculating a new value of I. Well, hopefully you notice that I started I at 0, and if I start anything at 0 and then multiply it, any value multiplied by 0 is 0, so I would stay 0 in this case. So let me make I equal to 1. And now let's run this and see what happens. And when it finishes, we only get 4 outputs. Well, the first time through, I was equal to 1, because we said I equal to 1 for starting value. Well, that's less than the j value of 100, so it goes into the loop, outputs the I equal 1, multiplies it by 4, so I becomes 4. Comes back up to the top of the loop, tests that. Well, 4 is still less than 100, so it goes into the loop again, outputs the 4, multiplies it by 4 again to give us 16. We've got 16 now, comes up to the top of the loop, tests it, 16 is still less than 100, goes into the loop again, outputs my 16, multiplies that by 4 to give me the 64, comes back up one more time. Well, 64 is still less than 100, goes into the loop for what turns out to be the last time, outputs the I at 64, multiplies I once again by 4, giving us a value of 256. Now when it comes to the top of the loop, test that. That's false. Since it's false, it goes down and continues outside the loop. Our little print after the loop line shows us that I is 256. So hopefully that will show you that we can modify with a for loop the value of our loop variable, our counter in this case, however we need to, and we've got a lot more flexibility than we did, say, in the while or in the for loop, because in the while loop this could be some value or multiplying it by some value that was calculated in here. It doesn't have to be a constant for. Okay, let's one more thing, make one more change just to show you we can go up or down. Let's make that now, instead of less than, say greater than j. So while I is greater than or equal to j, well, let's make I 1000, and this time I'm going to make the calculation a little different. I'm going to say it's going to be I minus, let's say, minus j divided by, let's divide j by 3. Okay, so now we're going to just do a little more complex calculation in here. Let's run it. And we've got a fairly long output. I probably should have divided j by something a little bit smaller, or made j bigger, or something else, because we're going down by what turns out to be 33 each time. And if you look through it, we started at the 1,000 and we scroll down until we get to I being below 33. So again, we can go either way. We can make those calculations that we use inside the loop as complex as we want. We could even have a question, or ask a question in the loop, and use that for our exit condition. Well, thank you for watching this Dan on Tech video. Please subscribe to this playlist so you don't miss future videos. Please check out and subscribe to our other Dan on Tech channel playlists.